Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming this morning and being a part of this. And I really want these to be open forums. I'm definitely going to leave time for questions at the end, but feel free to ask questions as we go along. If you have any insightful ideas or suggestions, Cindy's here. She's going to capture those. Because we definitely want to get in this college into a spirit of innovation and collaboration and continuing to move forward. How many of you were at the board meeting last night? Can I just see a show? Oh, wow. All right, very good. Well, we know in education that sometimes, hey, Bernie, how are ya? My good friend Bernie, sorry. Just saw him sitting there, so I had to say hi. In education, we know that we have to hear things more than once, oftentimes, to learn it. So all is good. You'll probably hear some of the same things, but we have added a few bit more information to the slides specifically for staff. Some of it was what we discussed a little bit in closed session with the board. Just wanted them to hear it first, but we felt it was important for all of you as staff to hear these things as well. So with that, I do have a couple of other things I want to go over, but I think most people want to hear about the budget. But first of all, one of the questions I've had, I'm getting it from lots of people, is how should you address me? And I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to just say it again. My name is Lori. You are welcome to call me Lori. If there are instances where you feel like you want to call me Dr. Borowitz, if you're in front of students and you feel like you want to do that, I'm fine with you calling me Dr. Borowitz, but I'm really comfortable with you just addressing me as Lori. Ben Shank asked me last night too, what do I call you? And I said, you can call me Lori. I'm not big on that title. I think I shared at my interview, my former boss, president of the last college, her name was Lori. And so it was really hard because I never knew when people said Lori if they were really addressing me, so I kind of like being the owner of my name here. So feel free to call me Lori, and I'll know you're addressing me. So thank you. So with that, the other things I wanted to talk about, like I said, I'll get to after we're done, and some of it is embedded in the PowerPoint. And I just want to mention, I did hear laughter this morning as everyone was coming in, and that's a really good thing. I know that the last week and a half here at the college has been incredibly stressful. This is a whole new world for so many of us, and a lot of pain and a lot of anguish as we are struggling through some really tough times. So kudos to you that even through these challenging times that you can find it in your heart to be positive and friendly to each other and supportive of each other. That was a really, really good sign. So give yourselves a pat on the back for your attitude. All right, so let's get right to it. Let's talk about what's going on with this budget. So the budget that was put together for this current fiscal year that started in last July was a budget of $23.2 million. Because just under $5 million comes from the state, and that's the revenue that we have not received this year, we've been spending down fund balance, our college savings account, to make payroll and to pay our other expenses as a college. So our fund balance has not diminished by $5 million or projected to be diminished by $5 million, just a little bit under, because there have been some strategies implemented. But also affecting that $5 million is the fact that we are down 8.8% in our enrollment. That equates to almost $1 million in lost revenue as well. So between not getting the state aids of almost $5 million and not having enrollments where we had hoped they could be, diminished another $500,000 because we had projected to be down, just not at the level we are down. So you can see that we're doing okay considering the condition we're in. We still have some money in our reserves. So for next year, when we looked at revenues, again, what are we going to get? How are we going to go forward? We're projecting at this point that we need to cut our budget by $3.8 million. And now I'll go into a little bit of how we got there. So these are called our budget assumptions. We put these together every year when we're building a college budget. So the first budget assumption we're making is that we are anticipating we are still going to get 50% of our state aids. So good, some of these notes that weren't in last night are in here. Thank you, Katie. She put this together for me so that I don't have to use my notes. So 2.5 million is about what we're projecting. We are really hopeful that by this fall, they have some money coming in for us. We'll have to have some more conversations in October, and I'll talk a little bit about our plan B for if this 50% doesn't come in, but we are hopeful that at some point we at least get 50% of the state aids sometime during the course of the next school year. We are anticipating a 1% increase in property taxes. That's that's to the plus, so there's $70,000, and at this point it's a little over a position, so that's good. We, again, are anticipating a decrease in enrollments. Now, while applications for fall are up, so that's a really good sign, and we're going to work really hard at converting those applications to enrollments, our past history for the past 3 years is like double-digit declines in enrollment. So we can't go too crazy with thinking all of a sudden in 1 year we're going to turn this around, but we are hopeful, and we really need to at least only be down 5% next year. So we're going to work real hard on that. And then committed pay increases. This is part of contracts and other obligations that we've made to people. So this is the amount of increase for pay increases that we have budgeted, we had to budget, and then increase in health insurance. Health insurance costs continue to go up. And so this is the college obligation for increased health insurance costs. Here's the things that we deemed important putting the college budget together, that we want to minimize cuts to direct student impact. We want to protect the integrity of our college and what we do for students. So we're not closing, at this point, we're not closing any academic programs or services for students. We are doing some collaborating, and we're doing some combining of some service areas, but at this point in time, we are not closing any academic programs. We need, and part of that not closing academic programs, because when you close them or put them on vacation or whatever, we call them put them on vacation in Wisconsin. I'm sure there's a freeze. I've heard freeze positions in Illinois, some of that. The reason we're not doing that, because when you start to do that, it's really hard then to bring those enrollments back and to bring those programs back. So rather than doing that, we're going to go with some of those lower enrollment programs and implement some strategies so that we can see if we can't turn that ship around and get more enrollments in programs. And we have to be a little patient with new programs. The number one way we get enrollments into the college is word of mouth. We'd like it to think it's the fabulous things that happen in marketing, and they contribute to it. But honestly, folks, you who have direct impact on students and you who live in our communities are the biggest salespeople and will get students into our college. So because when a program is new, we don't have past graduates to sell the program, it takes a while. So we have to be a little patient with new programs. But soon, when we have success with them, the enrollments will come. We're looking at additional revenue sources. We're being very strategic about how we start to look for additional grant opportunities. I think I've heard of a couple. I know Kevin has talked about an IT one you're looking at, which would help. We're looking at an upward bound one, which will help high school students transition into our college. So we're looking at additional revenue sources, things like, so that's one. We're also looking at a tuition increase. We're looking at an out-of-district application fee. We're looking at where can we go to get additional revenue into the college. Again, we're trying to be very strategic in how we protect the academic integrity and services to students at this college. That has to be our message. We are a strong, good option for people looking for higher education, and we need to continue to reinforce that. And we will be able to meet payroll. We did the budget so that even if the sky falls through and we don't have the 50% of state aids, we're going to be able to meet payroll through fiscal year 17. So here's some of the cost reduction strategies that we have built into the budget, reducing the travel. I think this one is 50%. I think I can do it, and you guys can help me. I think we can do this without notes. So 50%. The 50% is not of this year because there's been a moratorium on travel. It's 50% of the previous, what was built into the budget. So I believe it's about 150,000. So there'll still be about 150,000. We're still going to be very cautious about how we travel. But here's the deal. If we're going to grow, if we're going to be innovative, if we're going to do new things for our students, we have to get out there and hear about what's going on, and we have to steal other great ideas. The only way we're going to do that is if we're out there and we're meeting with people, and we have to do things like go to the Higher Learning Commission, HLC annual meeting, and we have to continue to make sure we're doing a good job with our assessment processes and some of the things we do in instruction and other areas of the college. So we do need to do some travel. It's just part of doing business. We have to take the risk and spend a little bit. Renegotiating external contracts. We don't have a lot of these, but we do have a few. And so we're looking at, are there ways to reduce those costs in those contracts? Some other things we can do maybe more internally, just to try to reduce the costs, the liability for the college in external contracts. Reduce the student worker budget. This we're cutting by about a third. I think it's about $129,000. So it was this budget was very big. There was some cut this year. I was assured that by cutting a third of the student worker budget, we are not going to affect the services that our students help us provide, because I know a lot of students work on our campus, and we want to continue that. It's really good on-the-job training for our students to be working for us. So we don't want to totally eliminate that, and we want areas to be able to rely on students who have, but we felt like there was some opportunity to eliminate a little bit of it. Reduce the computers on campus. This we're going to study before we just start plucking computers. One of the things I heard from students when I did the listening sessions is they really need the support of the computer labs in order to have opportunities to study on campus. So we're not going to go out and wipe out student computer labs, but we're going to strategically look at where do we have machines on campus and where maybe can we do some reduction, non-replacement, things like that. And then we are looking at reducing the number of non-foundation scholarships. This primarily includes our academic achievement scholarships. We are not eliminating them. We are reducing them. We are considering reducing the monetary award by 50%. So and that would be just for first-year students. Students who are already here under those scholarships will continue business as usual. We're not going to take away things that students already have. We're looking at reducing new incoming students. For those of you who were at the board meeting last night, you heard Sedgwick and I had a meeting with Lori Pillen, who is the head of scholarships at Rochelle High School. She was kind enough to come into the college yesterday before the board meeting and meet with us so we could talk to her about this. And she was supportive. She thought that this would work, and she thinks that people will understand in these tough economic times, but was really appreciative of the fact that we're not totally eliminating it. And this is something we'll relook at if the budget comes back. We want to ensure that our high achieving students are coming to our college, because that sends the message that we are a high quality educational institution when your brightest and best graduating from your high schools continue to come to our college. So we're going to continue with that. Another area we're looking at is athletics. Again, we're not going to cut scholarships to students who are already here on scholarship, but we are going to look at a trial and not offer first-year athletic scholarships and see what impact that has on our athletic programs. And we have to remember, there was some discussion about cutting athletics. There was lots of discussion about cutting athletics. But here's the deal. 90 students participate in our athletic programs. If those 90 students walked out our doors and didn't eat at in our cafeterias and didn't buy books in our bookstore, we not only lose all of that tuition, we lose all that other revenue. When we did the bottom line look at this, as a college, we only would have saved $70,000, and that doesn't count the bookstore and food service and all those other things that students spend money on. And it doesn't take into consideration the state aids, if we ever get it, that we would lose. So at the end of the day, it just didn't seem like cutting athletics was a good direction to go in at this point. So again, we'll try it. We'll see how we do without doing scholarships the first year, and we'll go from there. I think one of the things we have to get to in our college is that we're going to try some things, and we're going to take some risks. And if it doesn't work, we're going to be okay with saying it didn't work, and we're going to have to relook at it or be willing to go in a different direction and do something different. I think that's really important, that we become a college of some risk-taking and assessment. And sometimes you have to spend money to make money, and sometimes we're going to take some calculated risks in how we do that. So we're going to talking about some services. We're going to transition the Access, Equity, and Diversity Center to be a part of student activities. That helps us save in some collaboration, and it helps integrate our students, which also I think is a really good strategy for us to go forward. So we'll be looking to figure out how that will work. We're restructuring the Wellness Center. The Wellness Center, we're anticipating will become part of athletics. We still want to run the PE programs, but we're in conversations with Betty and Sedgwick and some others who are involved in those areas, and we'll determine how that looks, but we're going to do some restructuring on the Wellness Center. And we're going to explore some options to see if we can reduce the cost of the cafeteria. I know there have been some reductions already, and I think this is an area we still need to explore. It does cost our college to run a cafeteria. I'm not in favor of closing the cafeteria. I think if you go down there at lunch, and I know there's a number of you that do go down there at lunch, it's full of students. There's a lot of students down there, and they are eating and they are mingling. So I am concerned about just closing it down. So we're going to continue to work on that one as well. So then let's talk about additional revenue strategies. So one of the things we're going to look at is application fee for out-of-district residents. I talked about this a little bit last night. The issue is we have a lot of students who apply from out-of-district, but only, 11%, Sedgwick? 15% of them end up enrolling. When you have less people to process applications and do the work, we need to know that those who are applying really intend to come here. So we do pretty well with our in-district students. With them applying and eventually enrolling at our college, it's about 68–70%. So we feel like that's pretty good. But with that real low number of out-of-district residents, we want to look at having them pay an application fee. One of the suggestions of the board last night was to look at doing that as then a credit back on the cost of tuition if they actually do enroll, which I think is a great idea. We can look at how we make that work. Beth, where are you? We'll have to get you in the loop. I saw you come in. There you are. Thank you. We'll have to work with Beth for how we would make that work, but that was a really good option. So that, but there is something about having some skin in the game. When you give something away for free, sometimes it doesn't have as much meaning. So we'll try it. We'll ask for feedback. There's a student listening session tomorrow. I thought this was one of the questions. I could see how many in the audience are actually out-of-district students and see what the response is and see how they feel about it. But it is something we need to explore, and that idea actually came up. Not only will it generate some revenue for us, now I think I'm too close. It's okay? Okay. But really just this whole idea of doing work, and we're following up a lot more with prospects and doing that kind of stuff. We don't want to do that with people who have really no intention of enrolling here. They're just filling out an application because it's part of a class project in their high school, which I understand is what's happening. So we'll continue to look at that. We are proposing a $10 per credit tuition increase. Again, we'll share this with the students tomorrow for feedback. Ben Shank, our student trustee, last night said it's still a really good deal. We're still about a third of the price for a class us compared to Northern. So we're still a good value for students. It's just that we have to somehow share the pain. A $10 per credit will generate about $665,000 in revenue for us. So it sure doesn't take a big chunk out of that $3.8 million, but again, it's a piece of it. Another one is the variable tuition for radiology. We did this with nursing 3 years ago. It's worked. We haven't seen declining enrollments. Part of it is with accreditation for these health programs, we have to cap class sizes, faculty to student ratios, the clinicals, all those kinds of things. They are high cost programs, and these students graduate with really good jobs. So we're hoping that this will, will work for students in that program just like it did for nursing. Additional course fees to cover program costs. The learning division worked really hard at looking at where there are course fees and where for which programs and where there are not course fees, and came up with some ideas just to make it fair and equitable across the board for students in their courses. So some courses will have additional fees next year. And then this last one, this possible surcharge on tuition, and it would be a one-time, and it's really if the sky falls in and things don't go well with the state, how we'll get through a little bit more of spring. So that would actually be a discussion in October, September, October. Kevin's staying on top of our legislative things, so if it doesn't look like we're going to get state aid starting in January, we would have to implement a surcharge just to get us through spring. So when you look at the summary of the budget strategies, you can see that we really did try to across the board do different things to figure out how to balance our budget. And here's a new piece of information that was not part of the PowerPoint last night. This is looking at by area what units were affected for vacancies and RIFs. The total, you will see that there are 49 positions between RIFs and vacancies, and you can see what areas took the biggest hit. I apologize to KCSS. I had said earlier, about a week ago, that it looked like another unit was taking a bigger hit than they were, and with some resignations and other things that happened, this changed, and I just saw it last night in closed session at the board meeting, and I apologize for that. I know it's close to another one, but the support folks are the ones taking the biggest hit in this right now, and it does not mean that they are not essential positions to our college. It's just when the tough decisions had to be made, what could we live without for a while in the event we get no state money? Does anybody have any questions on this? While this is up, I just want to talk about a couple of things because I know the rumor mill is alive and well. I keep hearing that with what's going on. I want to talk about the admin, some of the admin things that are going on. Rob Galick is on leave, and while he's on leave, we have reassigned some of his duties. Beth Young will be the interim CFO. She is also overseeing food service and bookstore and the finance area, and she will report directly to me in the interim. Kevin is taking facilities, and Amy Ludwig will report to Kevin and work on that. Sedgwick will oversee security and be the point person for security. Did I miss anything there? Got those areas covered? Okay, the other, pardon? Yep, the other area is Michelle Bolden is also on leave, and to cover her areas, we have Joanne. I don't think Joanne's in here this morning. No, but Joanne is taking CE, I know I have it in my notes, but CE and the continuing ed pieces of it. Melissa Gallagher will be reporting to her that she'll help with the coordination of that. And then marketing, Katie Hamill, is taking over the conference center. Those people have been talked to, so they already know it, but again, in the interest of helping squelch some of the buzz, thought we'd share with, so now you know who the point people are for areas, because that's what I've been hearing is we need to know who we talk to for things, and so now you know. Is there any other questions related to any of that, or point people on particular areas? Yes, Ben.
Yes.
Yes.
Will there be another communication channel portal announcement to clarify these changes to those who might not be making?
Absolutely. That will be coming in the very near future. We're hoping by the end of the week. One thing I'm not planning to do is I'm not planning to itemize all of the positions that are on there. I think we have to be very respectful as an institution to those people who are affected by this. And I think putting positions out there publicly in writing for all the world to see is not respectful to the people who are in this tough situation. So that is not my intention at this point in time. I could be convinced otherwise because I am open to change, but I've been down this road before, and what we need to do is we need to make sure that we are protecting the people who are going through this tough time. It's not our story to tell. This affects people's lives, and we need to be respectful of each other and all of the good work that everybody, including those people, have done for our college. And with that, I'm going to ask you another thing. I'm going to ask you all to try really hard to squelch the rumor mill. We are trying so hard to be an open and transparent organization. If you have questions, if you are uncertain about something, if you feel like you need to know, please go ask your supervisor. And we are having regular conversations with supervisors to find out what the messages are to help squelch that. But because what happens, folks, when you're gossiping like that, it hurts those people who are affected, and I really don't think that's what any of you want to do. I continue to hear and I see how much of a family and what a great organization this is. So you don't realize that that kind of stuff really hurts people. And so if we can all work together to try to funnel questions to supervisors and ideas and thoughts, or email me. I am open to it, and I am trying real hard to answer every email that comes my way. So please just try some other vehicles for communication and talking about this. And I'm going to tell you one place where you cannot be gossiping if we are going to survive as a college is outside these walls. The message outside these walls has got to be that Kish is going to survive, and it's going to be a great institution and a great place for people to come to learn, because we need more enrollments or we are going to continue down this slippery slope. We have got to turn it around, and people hear what we say, and we have got to be careful in these walls what we say to our students. We have to be sending the message that we will be okay, that we will figure this out, and we will be a quality higher educational institution and a great value and a great opportunity for students to come and learn. We all have to be saying that. We have to be saying that together if we're going to survive this. Because you're on a really, yeah, we don't have state money, but you were on a slippery slope without the state money. Your enrollments have been declining a lot. And it's not to anybody's fault. I know it's the economy, things turned around, things changed with some other colleges that were, so they got their game together, so less people were coming here. I understand all that, but there's still opportunity for us to turn some of that around. Some of the other community colleges in Illinois are turning their enrollments around, and they're going positive this year. We're going to be one of those too. But we have to just be really careful of the messages we're sending in order to make that happen. Because again, while we think that there's things like marketing and advertising and all of that that drives our enrollments, that, based on my research, is not what drives enrollments. It's the word on the street. And it's what our previous students and community is saying about us. And what the parents who will send their children are saying about us. That's what's going to be so critical. So does anybody have any thoughts or comments on that, or ideas for how we can make that better? And if you don't want to say it in a public forum and you think about it when you get back to your desk, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear it. Yes?
I just have a question about if we are stay in one, and then things go back to kind of a normal situation, what happens to those positions that people were laid off with? Do you bring those individuals back? What happens?
Yep, that's going to be definitely our next step in planning, is to determine if and when, because we're going to hope when, we get more money, how will people come back? With the union contracts, there is a recall process, but because of our enrollment issues, we can't just say everybody comes back. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen right away. Maybe a year down the road when we spike our enrollments, but initially we're not going to be able to just say everybody comes back. So there will be a process to how that happens. And we will continue. So at the next presidential briefing, we can start to talk about those kinds of things. Yes? Sure.
First, I'd like to explain the process. The person who was resigning that position does not accept it. All that person is right. How does that process work?
Okay, did you not hear the question? Okay, the question is, if somebody is riffed, so then there's a person who bumps into that position, and that person who is assigned to the bump doesn't want to accept it, does that person who was riffed get to keep their job? Is that the question? That is a really good conversation that's going on right now, and I don't know, we're working very closely with Dave and Tony on all of this and how but we're following the union contract language in how that will work. So I don't know if I have a really good answer to that right today, but we are in regular conversations and will continue to be, and we will make sure we do it fairly and by the letter of the contract. Yep, absolutely, and I would think your unions probably would be communicating that, but if you're feeling like the whole college needs to hear that message, we could do that as well. So we'll talk about that. Cindy's writing, she's capturing it. We'll have a conversation and we'll communicate out how that works. But we will go by the union contract. We're working very hard to not follow that process that's laid out in the contract. We have to.
I
Yes.
was on the food service committee for many, many years.
Yes. 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 At my last college, it was the same situation. Now, I've been hearing that it's because of our enrollments and things like that, that it's like it is. I haven't had enough time yet to really assess all that, but I did oversee food service at our last college. I was in charge of that contract, and I think we need to look at it. I think we just need to look at it. I don't have an answer today. Ben?
I just didn't quite understand. Can you explain that a little bit more? Labor paid years
I can,
They paid us the year.
the company that comes in,
Oh.
it's a subcontract that comes
I
in.
see, I see.
Mhm.
Okay.
The vendors also
Right. So what's happening currently is that the company that is here doing our food service is feeling that because of the volume of sales, they operate at a loss. The college absorbs that loss, and right now it's approximately $80,000 a year. Mhm. So we all need to eat at the cafeteria. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm struggling too, just like you, because there's not a ton of options, and I know that was done to try to save costs again. That there's been some things done. We're going to have to figure it out, and I don't have an answer. And I'm not trying to say that the company that's doing the cafeteria isn't doing a good job. I think they do a good job, but it does cost us a lot of money. So we have to talk about that. Any other thoughts? Yes. Are you talking about the athletic ones? The reason I suggested that we go in that direction is two reasons. Number one, I don't like to take money away from students who are already here. So if they came under a scholarship, I want to make a commitment, the college commitment, that we continue that scholarship. Second of all, if we give first-year scholarships, then again, we're locked into that second year, in my opinion, and I think we do need to, as other community colleges in Illinois are looking at, we need to look at, will we eventually maybe have to go Division III and not do athletic scholarships in order to keep athletics going without so much cost to the college. So that just helps us in that process to be able to move to it quicker. Does that make sense? Okay. So this was the question, and when the state money is received, all budget issues will not be resolved. We've got costs that increase, we don't have the enrollments, and you will see some postings for jobs, even through all of this, because there are some positions that are critical. If we have an accreditation body, if we have student enrollments, things like that, we are going to have to post some positions. We're going to have some things to keep our operations going and to meet our accreditation issues. You've all seen this a lot. You can see a lot of things have already been completed. We could add last night, the Board of Trustees meeting. We're doing the briefings now. The next thing really is we will continue these conversations with unions on responses and working back and forth together. And then so by Tuesday, March 8th, and even after that, we can still continue to talk with the union. Because like we've talked about here, that when we get state aids, there will definitely be some that we will bring back. We are cutting really deep. We're cutting into the bone on this, and we know it. So it will continue. So then we will do another one of these briefings on March 9th and 10th. I'm hoping at that one we can start to talk about, okay, what does this mean? How are we gonna, what is the restructuring? How do we look different, and how do we go forward? And I know there's been some requests of that information today, and then continuing to do the notifications. We'll do it like this, we'll do it on the portal. This is something that we got some feedback this week that people are really asking. So what's next? Again, as I mentioned, we've got some union discussions and responses going on. Tomorrow there is a unity rally at Northern Illinois University. Dr. Baker is speaking, I am speaking, some community leaders are speaking, and really it's this idea of rallying for funding. I have become very good friends with Bob Pritchard. I have spent a lot. It's interesting going out to breakfast with Bob Pritchard because everybody wants to talk to Bob. So I got to meet a lot of people. But it's that idea that we all need to continue to tell the story of Kish. And we need to tell all the great things we do here, but we also need to tell all the great things of those 49 positions that are being reduced, all the things those people do in the community. And actually it was Matt Reed who really talked a lot about this, and I couldn't agree with him more. These are community members who do things in our community. I didn't bring the notes of my talking points from the rally, but we'll put them in the portal, really looking at, I think I can probably remember most of them. Almost 7,000 students are here this year. 90% of our graduates work, live, pay taxes in the state of Illinois. 60% are in our district. Yep, 60 employers hired our graduates, and of those jobs are not jobs that they had before and then came to school. They're jobs they got after they left Kishwaukee College or after they started at Kishwaukee. So we've affected 60 employers in our district. A lot of people work here. We help the economic engine in the state. Those are all really important things for the powers that be to hear, that we're much more than just an institution that serves students. Oh, and over 50% of our students are on financial aid, so we serve a wide range of socioeconomic statuses in our population. So those are really the talking points that I'm going to bring tomorrow. I'm going to have them written down, but thank you, Kevin, for helping me out a little bit. But so it's really important that we sing that story of the local impact our college has, the state impact our college has. So we're going to continue to do that and keep sending the message. There's EAP services. I understand that they have been used, continue to use them. They're here every Monday. We will add additional times if people need them. And this isn't just for people who are on that RIF plan. This is for the others who are just struggling with what is happening to their friends that they've worked with in the past. So feel free to use those services. There's going to be outplacement. That was my note to Katie. It stayed in the PowerPoint. It is, it's okay. We're all moving really fast. Outplacement services is correct, right? Okay, thank you. You can see we're a team. We work together. March 8th is the Board of Trustees meeting where they'll do the final vote, and they're just going to vote on the plan. I know I had some questions earlier about, well, what if they go through the plan and they ask you to line? They went through line by line the entire plan last night, and they are okay. They are not going to pluck our lines out of the plan. They will approve the plan. On March 9th to 11th, then, there will be union and staff notification, and then we're going to continue to have that conversation about how we move Kishwaukee College forward. Need to talk about this a little bit with travel. I did not know that Dr. Choice had sent out a memo in November, but I learned it quickly about a week ago that there had been a moratorium put on all travel. I have a little bit different philosophy. While we need to save money, we still need to move forward, we still need to grow, we still need new ideas. There are going to be some things that are essential to us moving forward. We've talked a lot about the portfolios. If we're not going to have portfolios going forward, we need a good assessment strategy for our accreditation. Where you learn about those kinds of things is at conferences like the Higher Learning Commission conference that's coming up in April in Chicago. We need to send a couple people to that. We need to send a couple faculty to that conference. Those are the kinds of things that are going to be essential to our college to continue to move forward. So we will do some of that. So here's what we're going to ask is that you submit your travel request, you talk with your supervisor who will get it to your vice president, and they will make the decision. We're just doing that to try to get a gauge of how much travel do we really need and what is essential. And I'm going to still ask to be in the loop on out-of-state travel if people need to go out-of-state. There might be a couple times when for the programs and services and things that we're doing that we might need to go out of state. So there might be some of that will continue, but it will be very, very minimum. I don't anticipate, I know I'm not going anywhere, and I don't think you guys are going anywhere. All right, and grant funded, they will continue to travel because sometimes it's written in the grant, like the TRIO grant, They have to go to some national conferences, but the funding is in their grant to pay for that, so they will have to continue to travel. Communication, how are we going to communicate? We're going to continue to put information on the portal. We will continue to put things out there. We are sending a collaborative message to the media. An example is the press release that went out last night. Dave has been part of it. Matt Reed has been part of it. Bob Johnson is our chair as part of it. And Katie and I representing the college. The 5 of us are all working together on all of our media. We are a unified message coming from Kishwaukee College. And I can't thank everybody enough for helping us all get on board with that. That is so critical, and it has been, I think, a breath of fresh air to people outside. And I've heard some comments outside, and I guess there were some postings even on some of the press releases that have been gone out to the Chronicle. This is a new day for Kish, and it's a really good day as far as that goes, that we're working together. Ask questions. Seriously, ask anything. It's okay. You're not going to be in trouble. You're not going to be hearing about the next day that you just have to do it appropriately, and you have to do it the right way. If anybody's going to get in trouble, if you get in trouble, it's going to be from when we pick up on gossip. And because here's what happens in gossip, it's not 100% true, and it's the telephone game. I mean, how many times are we victims of that, where it's repeated, and that isn't even where the truth started. So we've got to be very, very careful about playing that game. Ask questions to your supervisors. Open communication, transparency, that's what we're all about. And really, really be a friend. Be careful what you say. Please don't say to a person who got laid off, well, how now am I supposed to do your job? Please don't do that. That is not their problem. Their problem is their entire life has just changed. We have to be respectful. That's it for that. Like I said, I've got just a couple more things that I want to cover. Matt has asked me to announce a change in a meeting, and Mark will be sending out something as well in an email. But that departments are now meeting on February 23rd at 2:30 p.m., and the union is meeting on February 16th at 2:30 p.m. There was a switch, and that has to do with being able to provide a response to the RIF plan. It did go out to faculty this morning. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so that is the end of what I've got for this morning. You know how I like to end things. I want to hear a good story. I want to hear something positive that has happened either this week or last week with students, with what's going on. Betty, give me something good.
We're very proud in our health career area that the 2015 class of all the nurses that took the NCLEX, 96% passed, 100% of our paramedics passed, 92% of our radiological technology students passed. This is first time. We always look at first time, and 100% of our therapeutic massage students passed. So kudos go to those programs. First
So there are 40, I did a little math before the board meeting last night. There are 45 colleges that offer ADN programs in Illinois, and we're in the top 8. So that just speaks to the academic quality that we offer our students at this college. So thank you, all of you who are involved in that. Very good. Yes?
Ann Wilson, and I just wanted to give 2 kudos for 2 different students with disabilities on the department that helped them. Kish has now had its first student with deaf graduate from the CEL program, which took a lot of coordination with Joe Dawn, Michelle Holden, and our office. First time out, actually
Excellent. Let's give them. It demonstrates how we really pay attention to all of our students, so that's a really good thing. Anybody else have any positive things to share? Yes? Wow, that's really impressive. Thank you. Was everybody able to hear that? Very good. Okay. Anything else? Yes? Wonderful. I hadn't heard that one. Great. Yes, Matt.
Because of the implementation method we use, Katie, thank you, and all the American people, because of a rollout process, because of all the endorsement, and because of how we were able to garner all the responses, which Secretary, I want to thank every faculty member in here, especially Tracy, that foundation here, as far as Operation Credit for doing it.
Wow.
And then lastly, especially Jackie Strapp over at Student Success, who helped set up all the student focus groups to garner input from these people who utilize the results of that survey. Because of all that, Noel Levis reached out to me a few weeks ago and asked if Kishwaukee felt to be one of the two, one of only two community colleges and universities in the entire Midwest area to present an online national webinar about best practices, implementation of Noel Levis products, and utilizing the change.
Awesome. So here's the big question. How did the results look?
Actually, that's the other reason I love it, because we had 13 metrics change across 3 years. Went down, but 11 went up.
Oh,
Satisfaction.
very good.
So even it was kind of one of the feel-good times when spring 15, fall 15 things happened, that kind of smiley atmosphere. Student satisfaction indicators show that our students are still improving in their overall satisfaction with what we're delivering, even in the times that it's not.
Very good. And I think it's going to be really important, maybe at a presidential briefing, that we share those results. And we look at those categories and we see. Did you already do one?
We did 2 campus-wide presentations.
I missed it.
I can happily do more.
I would just, yeah, I'd like to see it. There's a few things I missed in the, pardon? They were good, Ben? All right. All right. Anybody else? Yes.
And also at the Career Center with Michelle Allen and Zeb. In a 2-hour span, we had over 140 possible potential employees come in, and also had about 14 employers, and a lot of them were new employers. They weren't temp agencies, they were full-time and part-time employers, and that was really a good way of showcasing Kishwaukee College in a collaboration, but also working with businesses as well.
Very good. Excellent. We do a lot of good things at this college. Yes, let's give it. Thank you, Grace. There are, you have to remember that, and you especially have to remember that when the college is going through what it's going through. There are a lot of good things that happen here and a lot of good things that are going on. And we want to continue to make sure. It's going to be really important. We're going to work on that, communicating the good messages out in the media as well. So again, another collaborative effort we're doing with Matt Reed and the faculty union of just really getting those messages out about all the good things that are happening, that faculty are doing in the community and as well that is happening at our college. So with that, I'll be respectful of your time. my door is open. I know I'm not that easy to physically find, but email. I have no family here yet, so I just work night and day. So go ahead, email me or let someone else know. And thank you for all you do for the college.